Thanks for joining us today. My name is Jane Johnson, and I'm the president of Business Transition Academy. Our mission is to provide business owners with the most comprehensive, impartial exit planning education and tools so they may dramatically increase their chances for a successful business exit. I'm so pleased to have Ted Leverette as my guest today. Ted is an author, speaker, and consultant. More than 30 years ago, Ted coined and trademarked his unique advisory niche, business buyer advocate. His clients include small and medium-sized businesses wanting to grow by mergers and acquisitions. He also trains and guides individuals wanting to buy the right businesses the right way. He works hand in hand with buyer clients through search, due diligence, financing, valuation, and deal making. He's usually first, behind the scenes, coaching buyers. Specialists such as legal and accounting are deployed later. Ted is not a business broker, never has been, and he does not represent sellers. I can't think of anyone more qualified to give our business owner members insight into how buyers think. Ted, as we know, there are so many owners who will be looking to sell their businesses after they recover from this crisis. What are the top 3 criteria that buyers will be using to assess acquisition targets?
Jane, I know this is important, so I made some notes. I browsed through some of the files I have to be sure I cover the hottest stuff. I think probably the most important right now is the status of the businesses during this pandemic, during the financial crisis. And what we're looking for is we're trying to separate the essential businesses from the non-essential, or otherwise known as the ones that are open and making a profit, and the others who are maybe partially open or not open, who are dead in the water. So being open and closed is huge at this time. As soon as this pandemic goes by and we're just coping with financial crisis, it won't be so important to us, this idea of open or closed. What we're really interested in is the status of the employees. We can come back to that later if we need to. And we're also really interested in the competition. What are the businesses that are similar in the same market doing? And we're going to be doing comparisons. That's number 1. That's the status. Number 2 is cash flow. What was it before? What is it now? And what it is projected. We don't want to see blue sky. And number 3, if the business is coming on the market, if it needs to be for sale, what's the pricing and terms? It needs to be attractive to buyers. One of the things I like to tell buyers is, remember, for you, buying a business is discretionary. You don't have to do it, and you don't have to do it now. But for some owners, it's not discretionary to sell, and those owners better be well prepared when they come on the market.
As we know, it's very difficult to consummate a transaction. The statistics are not good. We know risk is a major consideration for buyers that can reduce business value significantly. How do owners assess and mitigate risks in their own businesses?
Okay, work on your sustainable competitive advantages. Strengthen them, create them. You have to appear and be better than the competition. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be better than most. And you have to show us buyers that you are. The other thing is stability. You need to be able to produce stable cash flow. You've got to show us that it's reliable. So when you're working with your advisors and in your internal planning, you're constantly working on these competitive advantages and your cash flow. And when you do both of those, what? You're mitigating the risk in your business. And I have a few more. Vulnerability. As buyers, that's what we're looking for. And not just now during the pandemic, all the time. We want to know how the business faces economic, medical, supply chain, and other business interruptions. These things are normal. They come and go. We just need to know what the owners have done to prepare for it. So tell us stories about what you did before, what you're doing now, and what we could do if we buy your business. Another one is, except for the buyers of the smallest businesses, I'm talking about those people who want to buy a job, which, by the way, I never represent because I think those are dumb deals. Savvy buyers avoid sellers whose businesses are dependent on the owner. Now, by dependent, I mean excessively dependent. That's a red flag for us. So one of the things you're doing to mitigate your risk, owners, is delegate. Don't be so dependent, or don't make the business so dependent on you. I have 2 more thoughts. Let me see what's in my notes. Oh, yeah. To what degree and how competent are the owners what have they done to prepare for sale? This is one way to mitigate your risk. If you come out blind, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, not a good thing. And you need to have reasonable expectations. So while you're managing your company and you're trying to mitigate your own risk of ownership, you need to be thinking about, what do you expect from the business? Is it reasonable? And when you put that business on the market or you go for financing, will they think it's reasonable? And one more thing, blue sky means good luck. Buyers purchase value. We're not interested in wishful thinking.
You want cash flow. Buyers want cash flow.
And we want it to be sustainable.
Right. And Ted, when you mentioned owners preparing, you were really speaking to the fact that owners themselves, they need to prepare themselves for the transition, get the dependence off of them, and also understand what they're really trying to achieve with this sale. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't going to plug this, but you opened the door for me. One of the books that I wrote called How to Buy the Right Business the Right Way. Believe it or not, I have as many owners buying that book as business buyers. And why? Because owners want to know how buyers are going to think, how they're going to behave, how they're going to react when they meet these owners. And so by owners preparing themselves for that, and I do mean personally, preparing themselves for that onslaught of questions, they can relax because they know what's coming. And with buyers, we rehearse all the questions we think we're going to be asked before we ever talk to an owner. You can do the same thing, owners.
Very helpful.
And that doesn't have anything to do with preparing your business for sale. It's preparing you.
Right.
And just one more thing on that topic, don't take solace that you have an advisory team, or if you hire a business broker, do not take solace in that, because we're going to be talking to you face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and that wonderful team of yours is not going to be talking. That means you got to look damn good.
Very good points. Very good points. The current crisis, I'm sure, has impacted the due diligence process, Ted. The due diligence, for those who may not know, the due diligence process is that process that buyers use to take a very close look at the company. You just mentioned it a moment ago. How will this current crisis maybe make that process a bit more difficult, lengthy? What are your impressions there?
Well, I'm talking to buyers in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the United States, and all through the UK. I'm doing it almost every day. And I'm also talking to business brokers and lawyers or solicitors in those areas, and what they call vendors. Those are sellers, business sellers. And here's what they're telling me and what I'm observing with my clients. Buyers are saying, let's wait and see.
Okay.
Only the most motivated buyers are making offers. Now, I'm recommending, and just about all the brokers are recommending, that buyers search. We are searching. We're just not making offers. Unless, and by the time we get done with this interview, the owners have prepared themselves and their business well enough where we see the risk is worth it. That's number one, the wait and see attitude. The second one, it goes back to that dependency. If we sense that a business is too dependent on an owner, we pass. We're just not interested.
Sure.
Number three, we want the owner to tell us in words, not just reports, how the business is going to perform over the next couple of years. And I'm not just talking financially. We want to know about the relationships with its constituency, and we can talk more about that later, employees, et cetera. And then when you tell us, we're going to ask you why. And then we're going to ask you for evidence. And if you can't produce the evidence, we don't believe you. Number four, we're going to ask about your competition. You need to know what it is, because we're researching your competition. We are contacting them. Sometimes we're mystery shopping them. You need to know what they're going to have to say about you, because we're going to ask you about that. Think about this. Do you want to be the wolf or the rabbit? You know, it's prey and pursuer. And we don't want to be the rabbit.
Right.
One more thing about due diligence, what's impacting it, to your question. We don't want the seller's problem to become our problem. Here's what we say. We'll just sit on the sidelines rather than do a risky deal. So minimize the risk when you're talking to us. In fact, minimize it before we get there.
Right, right. And I would imagine buyers these days would be extra cautious, extra careful. They were always careful and cautious, but with this crisis, really, really, I'm sure they've stepped up their
Well, you know, Jane, I don't think, I don't mean to disagree, but I'll give you a way to expand on that thought. The people who read my book, How to Buy the Right Business the Right Way, we do that and only that, no matter what the economy is. So during the Great Recession and now, we do that and only that. The only thing that changes is the fear factor. And that's why that owner owes it to himself or herself to practice with people like exit planners or business brokers, so you look good when you're talking to us and your business is totally prepared. So that minimizes the fear factor. There are only so many questions we can ask. They don't change.
Have to make the buyer comfortable. Ted, if an owner decides to sell, how much of their involvement will be expected after the sale? As we know, a lot of owners are, as I say, D-O-N-E, done, and they just want out after this crisis. So how available will they have to be after the sale for that buyer?
I'm advising my buyer clients and anybody who's listening to get more intensive transition assistance for a longer time after closing from the exiting owners. I'm not done. And to have it explicitly defined in the purchase and sell agreement and any other kind of contract, like an employment contract. One more thing. For example, we want these owners, as much as they want to be gone, we want them around so they can introduce us personally to the key employees, key suppliers, key customers. We want them to take us by hand to them, tell them how good we're going to be for the business, and that the owner's there shepherding us as we learn how to operate that business. And then, I'm not done. If an owner says, I will not strive to help improve the business and its relationships during the transition period, which could be anywhere from a month to 6 months, I tell my clients, run, don't walk. Get away from those people.
Right.
So I did a deal just recently in London. The owner's staying on 6 months. He's done all those things. He's introduced us to customers, suppliers, employees. Everyone's relaxed. And now we're contacting former customers. When I say we, the former owner and my buyer are contacting former customers and said, hey, we have new people in here. We have more money. What can we do to get you back? That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. So it's more about making sure that the former owner does what they need to do to ensure a smooth transition and to really set the company up for success. So it's not just about it's a year or 2 years or 18 months. It's more about accomplishing all the things that need to be done in order to make sure it's a smooth and successful transfer.
And just think about it. If the business is not excessively dependent on the owner, this transition can take place in less than 30 days. So the owner's gone, he's on the beach. But if the business is excessively dependent on the owner, they're going to need to be there longer because why? Employees, customers, and suppliers, maybe sources of financing, are very worried about exiting owners. Remember, businesses are like buses. Another one will come by soon. Right. That's why we abort sellers so fast.
Right, right. So it really behooves the sellers to make sure that that dependence is not on them. That's going to really speed up their exit out of the company.
Oh, they can exit real fast, even if it is dependent. It just won't be on their terms.
Right, right, right. Not the way they want to. Ted, is there anything else you think owners should know or remember before they prep their business for sale?
Okay, hold on. I kind of anticipated this, so let me see. I could just start reading right out of this book, but let me just cover. Okay, how about this one? How about your most important asset? Guess what? It's your employees. We want to know about the quality of those employees, and we want to know about their job satisfaction. And we don't want to just believe you. They're going to tell us. And you better be prepared for that and know how to handle that. You're going to make the best deal if you showcase your employees up front. Show them to us up front. You don't have to give us their names. You don't even have to identify their names by key employee. But you need to be able to show us things so we get a sense of who they are. Things like, well, employee evaluations. If you don't have employee evaluations being done and you're not documenting them in writing, and we ask about employees and you say, Mary Lou loves me and Sally is okay, we say, let's see the written performance documentation. If there's none there, my buyers, I tell them, you're taking too big of a chance. Otherwise, you might as well interview every employee in depth to see to what degree the employee is happy and can tell you the truth about the business. So I know I put a lot of time on it, but number one, employees. I have another one.
Okay.
And this relates to exit planning, by the way. Owners, you're going to sell on your terms and not the buyer's terms on the basis of how well you prepared yourself personally, and then how well you prepared your business to come to market. How you're going to interact with people. It's going to spell the difference. One of the things that really kills me is so many owners we meet, even ones listed by business brokers, because remember, by the time a business broker gets a listing, it's too late for the owner to start doing the exit kind of planning and the things that could have been done earlier. It's on the market. And here's what we see. We see owners like deer with looking into the headlights on a dark night. They fumble, they're scared, they haven't really organized their information. All of a sudden, they realize everything their exit planner has been telling them and everything their broker told them they wish the seller would have done. This is when it all comes to light. Businesses are like buses. Another one will be by later. Remember, that's how we're thinking.
Yeah, I love that. I love that saying. It reminds me back, Ted, to my situation in 2004 when I had a technology consulting firm with a couple of partners, and we were approached by two buyers, and we were the deer in the headlights. And I had been sitting in a CEO forum for 7 years, and in 7 years, we had probably 100 speakers come through that forum. 2 of them talked about how to prepare your business for an exit. We maybe spent 2 hours on the topic in 7 years. So we found ourselves woefully unprepared and thought, wow, where was all the advice? Where were all the people to tell us, hey, these are the things you need to do, because it can take years to prepare for this, at least months, right? If not a few years would be more comfortable. And nobody had given us that advice. So that's the reason I do what I do today, and I formed the Business Transition Academy to make sure that other business owners have this advice well in advance so they can be successful. So it's really, when you talk about deer in the headlights, I remember being there myself. It was very uncomfortable, as I recall.
It's no fun.
It's no fun. It's no fun. And I really love your saying that businesses are like buses. Yeah, there'll be another one that comes right along. It's the reason why what owners don't realize is that the statistics on being able to actually consummate a transaction, it's about 16% based on the latest data that I've seen. So of the businesses that make it to market, only 16% sell. That doesn't include all the businesses that never make it to market because brokers will not represent them because they have not done the preparation, or the business is just not marketable. So if you want to be in that 16% and have a deal, it's very, very important. It's essential that you do the preparation. Essential.
Oh, I could give you another tip. It relates right to that.
Okay.
Except for the smallest businesses like hair salons and convenience stores, that's the crowd that business brokers represent for the most part. If you go online to the various business for sale websites, you'll see that 80 or 90% of their listings are businesses that have a revenue of a few $100,000 and they're selling for $250,000 maybe. That's not my market, and as far as I'm concerned, those are not businesses worth buying. The businesses worth buying are the ones that can produce enough cash flow and that are scalable to continue to grow. 80% of those businesses are not represented by business brokers. 80%. Wow. These are businesses that are sold on what's known as the hidden market. They're either quietly for sale by owner, or they're not for sale at all. And somebody like us shows up unannounced, and we say, we're going to own a business in your industry. Could we talk about your industry? Could we see whether there's something we could bring to the table, maybe as an investor or a buyer? Because see, you're either going to meet us now, you're going to meet us in 4 months when we own one of your competitors.
Right, right.
So here's a test for you, brokers and exit planners and owners. You want buyers like us, people with money and competency, to show up unannounced.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody's showing up at your door, it means we are watching you and you don't interest us.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Good point. When I speak to my clients, Ted, all the time, they're telling me that they get calls on a weekly basis from potential buyers. A lot of them do. Not all, but a lot of them do. And it's really, they're saying, wow, maybe I should be doing some preparations. Like, absolutely. And if whether you plan to leave in 2 or 10 years, a healthy, profitable business with procedures and a management team and happy employees will really be a wonderful thing for you as you stay as the buyer, as you stay as the seller. I need to start that over. Okay.
And you know, you mentioned that few businesses offered for sale sell. That's true. But same thing holds true on buyers, so-called. In fact, I don't even call them buyers. Buyers are not buyers until they buy. Otherwise, they're searchers. The business brokerage field says that for every listing they have, on average, about a dozen, maybe 15 searchers show up to look at it. So these owners who are feeling pretty frisky because they've had a dozen searchers contact them, only 1 out of that dozen is going to actually buy a business. So the rest of them are going to cause you to waste your time and risk your confidentiality. That's why you need to know how to find the right buyers, so that if they're not behaving the way the best buyers behave, get them out of there. They're dangerous.
Right, right. It just reminds me to say, too, that sellers need to be sure they do diligence on the buyer as well. So it's not just a one-way street. That it's a beauty contest. They have to be sure that they do the diligence on the buyer as well, if they want to ensure that their goals are met and that their business continues and their employees still have jobs after the deal closes.
Well, here's a tip then. I mean, do you want another tip?
Sure.
Okay. Google everybody. If some buyer sends you an email or text or a letter, don't answer. Google. And I mean thoroughly Google. Look at their home using Zillow. Find out who in the heck they are. After you Google, up front, say to the buyer, show me a non-disclosure document you're willing to sign. Right up front before you say anything. And it better be fair, it better be mutual. That's number 2. And number 3, show me your money. Because right now and we'll see this on LinkedIn, there are a ton of these charlatans out there teaching searchers how to buy businesses with no money down, or to get sellers to carry all the financing. Don't fall for that. I mean, if you have a horrible business, well, do what you have to do. But if you have a mature, profitable business and you fairly price it and you know you have it, demand that the buyer up front show you. He doesn't have to give it to you, but show you a financial where the money is. Yeah. It's not good enough to be told, I have 400,000. Show me the money.
Right, right. Very, very good tips, Ted. Thank you so much. It's been really terrific speaking with you. I really appreciate your time and insight today. As we know, it's not at all easy for owners to successfully market their businesses and find a buyer. And that's why this education is so essential. I also want to thank our audience for joining us today. For more information on how to prepare for your business exit, whether it's in 2 or 10 years, we encourage owners to attend our upcoming workshop on June 18th called Rebuild Your Business with Your Exit in Mind. You may register for the workshop and find lots of additional information on our website at www.businesstransitionacademy.com. So again, thanks very much, Ted, for your time today. It was terrific insight. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.